Hi, I'm Joe Roth. At New Jersey Sharing Network, we're committed to saving and enhancing people's lives through organ and tissue donation and informing people about our life-saving mission. That's why we're proud to support programming produced by the Caucus Educational Corporation and their partners in public television.
Funding for this edition of Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been provided by County College of Morris, connecting learning and life, PNC Bank, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Activists, in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, Steve and Elaine Pazicki, New Jersey Sharing Network, dedicated to saving lives through organ and tissue donation, and by United Airlines. Promotional support provided by NJ.com, Small News, Big News, True Jersey, and by Commerce Magazine.
Well, there she is. You just heard her for yourself. That was Jessi Teich. She's a Jersey girl, and she is making us proud. Award-winning singer and songwriter. That was you.
That was me, yeah.
And you sounded amazing.
Thank you.
You've had quite a journey in your very young career already as a singer and songwriter. First, tell us, how did you first get the singing bug? When did you know this was for you?
Well, as a very young girl, I grew up with a vast collection of vinyl in my home because of my dad, my father.
Vinyl.
Yes, vinyl, which now is in my house. But yeah, I listened to a lot of different records at home, and my dad used to take me to music festivals, mostly blues festivals and jazz festivals. And
Who were some of the artists who inspired you, and who did you grow up with?
I mean, I grew up listening to the jazz trio, Billie Holiday, Sarah Vaughan and Ella Fitzgerald, and also Nina Simone and Dinah Washington. I listened to John Coltrane, Miles Davis, Cannonball Adderley. I really loved Janis Joplin and Jimi Hendrix, Motown, Beach Boys. It was a vast array of different kinds of music. So,
how much of that came from your dad, and how much of it came from your own interest in you exploring the music that you liked?
Pretty much all of it came from my dad, and then I branched out from there. I can remember listening to Janis Joplin for the very first time, and I think I was 8 years old, and I took the headphones off and I said, "Hey Dad, when can we go see her?" And he goes, "You can't." And I said, "Is she dead?" And he said, "Yeah." And I said, "Drugs?" And he said, "Yeah." And that's actually how he taught me,
Wow.
about drugs and music as well. But I mean, I learned not only a music education from my dad, but kind of life education through the music.
So you've had these influences through the course of your life. Did you always have a style? I mean, did you really pattern your style and your sound after them, or was there something organically in you that had this jazzy, soulful, bluesy kind of sound?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, I definitely draw inspiration from them, but I always found that when I sang jazz, I sang it with a little bit of blues, and when I sang blues, I sang it with a little bit of R&B. So I always kind of mixed my genres and created my own style from that.
The song we just heard was called The Haunted.
The Haunting.
The Haunting, excuse me. You just released a new album. I want to talk to you about it because there's a lot went into this album, including the where that you recorded it. Talk to us about your experience recording this album and where it happened.
Yeah, the where is Paris, and that is such a cool thing for me. I got to go over to Paris and record it, and it actually came from a trip that I took. I was encouraged by my manager to go and take a trip over to Europe because I've heard that the music over in France and Italy and Spain is just, it flows very freely. It's a different kind of culture and style. And so when I went over to France, I walked into these clubs and, I looked at the audience and it was completely silent. Nobody was talking, nobody was clinking glasses and drinking. It was just a very They were
Attentive?
very immersed into the music. I mean, you could hear a pin drop in between notes. It was incredible.
Do you think there's a greater appreciation there for the music?
I don't know if it's greater, but it's different. It's just a different experience. I think, you know, Americans experience music one way and Europeans may experience it a different way. But I think that my type of music, which is a blend of jazz, soul, funk, blues, it probably is better received over in Europe.
Did that build your confidence in a way by going to a place where that style is greatly appreciated?
Absolutely, and I think it just expanded my mind to see what else was out there, you know, and it just showed me that there were other options and other places to go and other people that I could touch and create, you know, music around. So.
For you, songwriting I know is an important process, and,
Yes.
and a lot went into the album, as I said. Talk about the emotional side of writing this album.
Yeah, so the album came out of a very emotionally abusive relationship that I was in, and I didn't really even plan on writing this album or have it be what it is now. And the name of the album is Twisted Soul, and that very much captures the feeling that I had, you know, while I was in the relationship. And after I was able to get out of it, I didn't even realize that it was emotionally abusive until I actually went and talked to somebody about it and got some help and kind of worked through some of the issues that I was going through, which a lot of it was self-doubt. So, you know, I just turned on myself and beat myself up and it says, oh, it's all my fault. But as I talked to people, you know, my family and my friends who were very supportive and, you know, my therapist, I realized that, like, no, it wasn't all my fault, you know. And the one thing that I always kind of turn back to about an emotionally abusive relationship is when it's physically abusive, you can see the bruises. But when it's emotionally abusive, you can't see the bruises, so it's much harder to understand and explain.
Well, as someone who I know has now become an advocate for other women who are going through the same thing, just talk us through very briefly what some of those signs were that you may have missed and not identified as emotionally abusive.
Yeah, so I mean, as simple as, you know, not being able to wear makeup without having him complain about me wearing makeup, or I wasn't allowed to wear boots.
Very controlling behaviors.
Very controlling behaviors, extremely controlling, but it was insidious. It wasn't like, you can't wear boots. It was like, oh, my friend told me that when she saw you and you were wearing boots, she said you didn't look very good. So it wasn't like blatant, it was very, very insidious and kind of, you know, sneaky, subtle, yeah.
Now, you actually, when you returned from Paris, you reached out for help. You turned to an organization. Tell us who that was and how they helped you.
I did. It's womenagainst.abuse.org, and I just kind of was reaching for any sort of help. I didn't know what to do. I was scared, and I felt really alone, and I didn't know who to talk to, so I called this group, and they were very helpful. You know, the woman was so sweet on the phone, and she said, she gave me a whole bunch of options and shelters that I could, you know, go to and different people to call and hotlines. And it just, I don't know, like in a world where, you know, when you don't experience that, you just don't think about it. So when you go through it and then you feel so alone and scared, it's nice to have people that understand where you're coming from.
You know, as an artist, I know that you've channeled a lot of this into a positive place. How
Yes.
for you has it been a source of healing in terms of being able to use your songwriting?
Well, it is my source of healing. Like I of course I have my family, my friends, but being able to put my emotions and, you know, and go through this experience of literally and physically and emotionally, like just letting go of everything and just learning how to love myself again was so difficult. And being able to do this was a very cathartic experience. And the way that the album kind of was written, it wasn't necessarily written as a story, but as I laid out all the songs, I was like, oh, if I put this song here and put that there, it's a story and each song is a chapter. So it actually turned out to be a bit of a narrative, an autobiographical story of my relationship. And the one thing that I really want to make sure that everybody gets from this album is that I'm not a victim. I am victorious, and I have achieved, you know, re-achieved self-love and happiness, and I'm living the life, finally living the life that I want to live.
Is that how this story ends for you?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, the last song on the album is called The Simple Life, and I'm certainly living it now.
And what's next for you? Because I know you have big dreams as a singer.
I do, yes. What's next? So I have a big CD release event happening at the Sellersville Theater on April 18th in Sellersville, PA. It's a matinee show at 12:30 so that my students and families from all over can come. It's family friendly. And I also have a radio show down in Nashville happening on May 4th. And I'm hopefully going to be going on a tour on the East Coast and the West Coast and back to Paris eventually.
I love it. You see, I told you, she's a Jersey girl and she's making us proud. I didn't lie. Jessi Teich, award-winning singer and songwriter, thank you so much for sharing your story with us and for sharing your gift.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Don't go anywhere. We have more Life and Living coming up right after this. Thank you.
To see more Life and Living with Joanna Gagis programs, visit us online at lifeandliving.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/joannagagis.lifeandliving and follow us on Twitter at Joanna Gagis.
Welcome back to Life and Living. I'm joined right now by an amazingly inspirational man named David Caldarella, who's the founder and executive director of David's Dream and Believe Cancer Foundation. But, and I don't know if I'd say more importantly, but equally important, you are a cancer survivor.
I am.
Thanks
for having me.
Oh, thank you for being here. You tell us your story and how this foundation began.
So in March of 2010, I was out with a friend having some dinner, and by the time I got home, I had some trouble swallowing. Within 36 hours, I noticed a lump on the right side of my neck that quickly. And within 3 weeks, I was diagnosed with stage 4 head and neck cancer.
Came out of the blue. No sign of it earlier, and it literally just grew that quickly.
That quickly. I literally ran a 10K 2 weeks before that, my best time yet, and a month later, heard the bad news from the doctors.
What was that process like for you in battling the cancer?
It was I think it happened so rapidly that I didn't have time to kind of mull it over and think about it, because once I was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer, I had a PET scan to make sure it hadn't spread to the rest of my body. Then I was in another surgeon's office the next day, thinking about a treatment plan. So it happened so quickly, and then a week after that I had another surgery. I just didn't have time, so it was immediate right into the treatment.
David, you say you didn't have time, but yet in the middle of all of this, you decide to start a foundation that gives back to others.
Right.
Explain how, in the middle of battling your own crisis, you have the wherewithal to give back to others, to think about others.
So I think going through it, my family and friends were unbelievable, so supportive. I couldn't ask for more. The thing that struck me were strangers coming to my aid, sending cards, talking to my parents, how's David doing? Does he need anything? Do you need anything? And I think that's what struck me. And
was that you felt that you had a support network around you?
Correct. And I felt like others going through this, some of them don't have that. And it'd be nice to create something for patients directly that would help them when they're diagnosed with cancer as well.
Help them in what way? What did you hope, and what does your foundation now work to do for others who are battling cancer in the same way?
So we created the foundation to help patients with initially medical bills, co-pays, hospital bills, doctor bills.
How devastating can the financial impact of cancer be?
Huge. And my own story is part of that, a perfect example. When I was going through all the treatments and the physical part of it, I had lost 65 pounds, and things were just so bad. The emotional is just as bad. 3 months after I received my cancer-free verdict from the doctors, I was sitting in an attorney's office filing for bankruptcy.
Wow.
So financially, it can be devastating. And I recognize that, and there's a lot of foundations that give to research, and I'm an example of that as well. I wouldn't be here. One of the surgeries, I was only the 10th patient for my doctor to have a specific surgery. So I know there's a great need for that. But the patients need help too. And it's not just medical. We provide financial assistance for rent, mortgage, because sometimes the husband or the wife is taking off for the spouse to help them take them to treatment, sit with them at treatment, so their work falls behind. Utility bills, transportation to and from.
Rent, mortgage payments.
Mortgage payments.
How do you raise the money?
We raise the money with events, and the community in South Jersey, Long Beach Island, Manahawkin have just embraced the foundation, local businesses, and really without them, we set out initially to help 1 or 2 patients. And within 4 years, we've helped 325 families.
In fact, I see in the first year you impacted 11 families. The second year, 50 plus families. You're now in your third year and it's 200 plus families. And that is what earned you the recognition of the 2014 New Jersey State Governor's Jefferson Award. That's an award that's sponsored by PNC Bank. What did that award mean to you and to your organization?
I think more than anything, it was a recognition of the foundation and all the people that support the foundation. I remember sitting in the audience and listening to all these great stories and people that give back to the community and pay it forward every day. And I remember looking at my girlfriend and my mom and thinking, are we in the right place? Should I be here? But it was a recognition of everybody's work, hard work, and dedication to the foundation. So it meant a lot to me because it was, recognizing them for all their support for the past few years.
And when you talk about them, one of the contributors, I'd say, to your organization is a younger generation, Generation Dream?
Yes. So last year, we have a board who serves 100% on a volunteer basis, the board of directors. Phenomenal people. One of them had the wonderful idea to create a youth group, kids from 6 years old to 18, and teach them about paying it forward and helping local families in our area who are battling cancer. And Generation Dream was created with, I think, a group of 22 kids. And right now, I think we're up to about 86 kids. And they manage their own events, create their own events. And last year, in half a year, because they started in June, they raised, I think, approximately $7,700. For families battling cancer.
You're not only making a difference for those families who are battling cancer, but you're making a difference for the families who you're bringing together. And you're teaching these children something, a life lesson that they're not going to learn anywhere else. So for that's got to mean a lot to you.
It means the world. It's nice to see when local businesses and families gather around the foundation because they know it's their neighbor or their aunt or somebody like that. But to see these kids who could be on a video game or doing any number of things, and they take time out once a month to meet with us and to attend events, create their own events. It's pretty special to see, write cards for patients, important stuff that, going through it, as I know, receiving those cards was just tremendous.
David, two important questions here for our viewing audience. First, how can people volunteer? And second, how can people get assistance if they need it?
We have an event interest form on our website, and it has volunteer opportunities for all our events. But there's also volunteer opportunities for daily stuff. Sometimes it may be going to pick up a prescription for somebody who can't get out of the house, a senior citizen or something. So literally I'll go to the local pharmacy, pay for the prescription for them, and could be drive it to them, to their house. And it's just a nice way to give back and others to kind of take part.
And people can go to your website?
People can go to the website www.davidsdreamandbelieve.org and get all the information. My contact information is on there. Our grant application can be forwarded to anybody who needs assistance in their time of need.
David Caldarella, founder and executive director, David's Dream and Believe Cancer Foundation. I want to thank you so much for sharing your story, but more importantly, for the great work that you're doing for citizens around this state who are in need and who you're touching. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure. And don't go anywhere because there's more Life and Living coming up right after this. Thank you.
To see more Life and Living with Joanna Gagis programs, visit us online at lifeandliving.org. If you would like to express an opinion, email us at info@caucusnj.org. Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/joannagagis.lifeandliving and follow us on Twitter at Joanna Gagis.
Welcome back to Life and Living. In this next segment, we'll be talking all things breast cancer, from diagnosis to treatment and, of course, prevention. I'm joined in the studio right now by Dr. Renee Armour, who is a breast oncologic surgeon at JFK Medical Center. Welcome. How are you?
Great. Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. You know, there are a lot of people right now who are thinking about, what should I do? What do I need to be doing to make sure that I am checking myself regularly, that I know the signs and symptoms of breast cancer? First, for our viewing audience who's wondering what they need to be doing, tell us.
Well, sure, absolutely. First off, you know, anybody below 20 should automatically start checking their breasts as teenagers, even just to get an idea of what the feel of their breasts are. Not that they're expecting to have any abnormalities, but we have teens that come in with benign things, and so they get some idea of what their normal is. From age 20 to 30, women have to start doing self-exams, monthly self-exams, and having the gynecologist do exams once a year. If you're from a high-risk family, you might need more than that. And everybody at the age of 40 on should be getting screened once a year with mammography.
Let's talk about screenings that you have in your office, because I know that technology has changed over the years and it's improved. How is it impacting your ability to identify cancer? Breast cancer in particular.
So usually patients often will come to me already with a diagnosis from the radiologist, but a lot of patients will come from a radiology facility where they feel a lump or they see something on mammogram, ultrasound that needs biopsy. And the first biopsies that are done nowadays, the standard of care is a needle biopsy. In my office, when they come to me, if the abnormality is on ultrasound, then I can do an ultrasound guided core biopsy right there in the office so they get their results back more quickly. If it's a finding that's just seen on mammography, we do something called stereotactic biopsy. Well, we don't have a stereotactic machine. They're very big right within the office, but right in the breast center, at JFK, we have the stereotactic machine. So either I will have them scheduled to do it with one of the breast radiologists, or if they feel more comfortable with myself doing it, I'll do the stereotactic biopsy for them, but that has to be scheduled at a later date. And then we wait for pathology to decide, is there another step for them?
What are the typical treatment plans, and is it customized for each patient depending on their illness?
Absolutely. Absolutely. So breast cancer is one of those things that is multidisciplinary. If we're speaking of breast cancer, there's other things that we treat. Typically, they will need surgery, some sort of surgery, most people, to remove the breast cancer. There are some older people that are not surgical candidates that have a hormonally positive breast cancer that can be treated just by blocking their hormones down, and that will suffice them throughout their life. But most breast cancer, it's first, surgery. Sometimes surgery is second, depending on what type of cancer you have. And then there's treatment, adjuvant treatment beyond that. People that are having their breast conserved, meaning just the cancer removed, will have to go on and have radiation of the breast as well. People that are having their breast conserved or having a mastectomy may or may not also need chemotherapy. They may need hormone blocking agents like something called the aromatase inhibitors. So it's a multidisciplinary disease. I refer off to a medical oncologist, to a radiation oncologist, so that they can then see them in that particular field to do their radiation, to give their aromatase inhibitor or chemotherapy. The conversation starts in my office.
Now, it starts with you, but is it not true that you follow up with your patients through their entire life?
I do.
Do they ever kind of age out of your system?
No. So I believe that as long as you are healthy enough to get there, you should continue doing your mammography.
Even if you're cancer-free?
Even if you're cancer-free. And there is no point in life where you are not at risk. We would like to say, okay, once your treatment is done, you are cured. But it is not like tumors, what we call liquid tumors, where at 5 years, you're in remission, 5 years, you're cured. Breast cancer can come back 10 years, 15 years, 20 years later. So I have my patients come in once a year for life, as long as they're willing.
It's interesting because most people listening are probably thinking about women, but this is an issue that impacts men, and
Correct.
It's not always with breast cancer, but there are other issues that men experience. Will you talk about that?
Sure. Very, very few men, unless they're from a breast cancer family where there is a gene, will get breast cancer. It's only about 1% of the breast cancers that are seen. We do see men, and usually when they come to my office, a common problem is gynecomastia, where they're concerned about abnormal growth of breast tissue, and it's usually something simplistic, a medication that they're taking, possibly just drop in testosterone levels as they're aging, and sometimes it can be some more serious condition that is causing it. So we have to look for the cause and treat the cause, and then the gynecomastia goes away. It's very rarely something that is surgical. What we always have to do is make sure there's no evidence of cancer when they come in with any breast problem as a male.
And we only have a few seconds left, but
Sure.
you also see children.
Correct.
Why?
Correct. A lot of young girls will come in with little benign tumors called fibroadenoma, and they'll feel a lump that they think is a fibroadenoma. So, you know, we start seeing these at puberty, 12, 13. I've removed fibroadenomas, benign tumors from little girls.
So parents need to be talking to their kids, particularly girls.
Sure.
The checking needs to start earlier than we're thinking.
Sure, sure. It just, not that that's something that's going to harm them, but just so they know what to expect in the future.
Well, Dr. Renee Armour, you've taken a situation and a conversation that can be sometimes complicated, and you made it pretty simple for us. So I want to thank you so much. Breast oncologic surgeon at JFK Medical Center.
Thank you so much.
Life and Living has been a production of the Caucus Educational Corporation, celebrating over 25 years of broadcast excellence. Funding for this edition of Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been provided by County College of Morris, PNC Bank, Horizon Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey, Activists, in cooperation with the American Medicine Chest Challenge, Steve and Elaine Pazicki, New Jersey Sharing Network, and by United Airlines. Life and Living with Joanna Gagis has been produced in partnership with St. Joseph's Healthcare System.